Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to tonight's edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are currently underway. This is a momentous night here on the portal, one that I'm really excited about. I'm just waiting for one. Oh my gosh, this is perfect. So, tonight we got a very special show, ladies and gentlemen, and it's first for the Paranormal Portal. But I'm really excited to have this opportunity because it's the first time we've been able to have a panel of guests on the show. And we have several guests joining us tonight. I'm absolutely thrilled. But welcome to Friday. Before I go any further, let me thank Annette Critchfield. Thank you so much for the donation. That was excellent. I saw that in the PayPal. That was very, very kind. I'm honored. I'm thrilled. I'm humbled. Thank you so much. That really helps. It means the world to us. So really brilliant. Thank you. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the nature of spirit. And rather than have a guest on that could maybe fill in some blanks and give us some ideas, I decided to have all the guests on that I could corral into one show. And so tonight we are joined by Mrs. Debra Varner, Miss Diane Swiger, Mr. Sean Gonzales, and Mr. Joel Robinson. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you. And Deb, are you there?
What? Yes. Hi, Brent. Thanks. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, great. And Diane, you're here as well?
I am here as well.
It's a full party then. The portal is underway, and we are on the road to having a fantastic discussion tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about the spirits world and we talk about dealing with spirits, a lot of us are really in the dark, and we're really trying to make sense of what would otherwise seem absolutely foreign to most of us. But this is, I thought, a great opportunity to be able to have this kind of discussion where we could have several psychics on the show at the same time, sharing their ideas, sharing their thoughts, sharing their insights and their experiences to help the rest of us try to understand what these things are, how to deal with them, how can we take care of ourselves better, because, quite frankly, all of us, a lot of us are just at a real disadvantage in these kind of encounters. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity, and I hope you guys are all ready to go. Hello, you guys?
Yes.
I'm ready and raring to go.
All right. And Joel, are you here? I haven't heard anything from you.
Oh yeah.
All right. Good
I'm
deal.
ready.
Okay. So to start out the night, I thought it would be a great idea for you guys. We always have new listeners to the show, and maybe all of our listeners aren't familiar with you all. So, Sean, can I start with you? Can you just give us a couple minutes background on who you are and your journey up till now, and your gifts?
Sure. I was born as what you'd say activated. I could see ghosts just as well as any person can see a normal person. For the most part, that's how they always seemed, and I could also sense them. I'm a child of two different backgrounds, where my father is Cuban and my mother is from the Isles of the United Kingdom. And so I have a rich history that's both spiritual and capable, where my mother can sense ghosts and my father could see them because their lineage brought them those gifts. And I inherited all of them. So when I went to England at the age of 5, a thing took umbrage with the fact that I could see it, and it decided that I should die, and it decided to continue its attack long after I fended it off. And so because of that, and because of many horrors and things that I'd seen as a child and things that I couldn't defend myself from, I learned how to protect myself and others. And so now I try to bring that knowledge, that understanding, that training to people who need it, or if they can't learn how to help themselves, I'll step in and defend them.
Excellent. That's great. And Joel, just a quick recap on your journey.
So I just kind of stumbled on it. It wasn't like something I really figured out until I met Sean, and I figured that I had definite gifts. I was always intrigued by ESP and things like that growing up in the 70s. And when I went into the military, I found out about shamanism through a couple of people and runes and Reiki, which I'm a practitioner of. Um, and that's just kind of how I found my path. And just, I guess you could say, like the Red Road, shamanic tradition just seemed to speak to me and draw me into it. So.
Excellent. Excellent. And Diane, could you give us a quick recap of your journey and how it all began for you?
Well, actually, I have a background where there were psychic people on both sides.
Mm.
So the person I was born did have that in the background, and came in on what they call a Blu-ray, which we may discuss in some show somewhere. But and the Blu-rays were here to kind of pave the path for the Indigos. Interestingly enough, when I had my prophetic dream that I died 33 years ago, this November, it turned out that I died and revived the same day that the first space shuttle blew up, just like my dream predicted. And while I was there, I got a download. While I was gone, I got a download. When I came back, I was a lot different, and in that regard, some people would say I'm a walk-in, and that may be the case. But in any event, the person I was psychic, but this person that I am now started on the shamanic path due to this download. I found out later that the person that I met there, after I met a bunch of, it was interesting. I went to the garden first, which is where a lot of near-death experiencers go, and that's where they mostly go. Almost nobody sees hell unless they're destined to be on a televangelist show. And and I basically saw what looked like everybody's religious figures. And then I was in a cave, and I was talking to this very old person, which I found out later was Seshet, the wife of Thoth. So, and she gave me something that we would call a download that was to unpack over time. And as it unpacked over time, I got all of these sort of shamanic lessons and tests, and leading up to what I do today, which I can open portals, I can do crossing overs, I can do healings, I can do, I send things to their final location. Excellent. Whatever world they need to cross onto, I kind of remove stuck things.
Okay, perfect.
Place to the next.
All right,
that's what I mostly do.
Okay, well and these are incredible. And last but not least, Miss Deb.
Hi, I'm an empath, which means I read off of other people's energy. I came into my gifts because they've been passed down through my family. I'm also a medium. I do channeling with the spirits. I do mirror scrying. I have dream visions. I do spirit investigations. I cross over the spirits usually before I leave because I just don't feel like they need to be here. Mm-hmm. They need to go ahead and cross over. But, I mean, I'm just plain me.
Well, we love all of you. You guys have all, of course, been really important parts of the shows, and all of you have volunteered your abilities to help a lot of people that have reached out to the show to get a lot of help, and that's, of course, it's been invaluable to us, and it's really meant a world of difference to those people that you guys have all helped. So first and foremost, let me thank you all for that publicly. That, ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about people that we have available, you're listening to them right now. These are the people that have reached out of their own time, their own energy, their own ambition to help those that have reached out to us for help. So thank you guys for all that you've done, because it's made a world of difference for a lot of people. So as we're getting started here, we talked a little bit, and I think it's, you guys all kind of encapsulated what it is that you do, but how do you approach the spirits. What is your main approach with dealing with the spirits and the spirit situations? Deb, since we ended with you, why don't we start with you?
Oh,
In other words, what is your process
it's
in a nutshell?
okay. My process. Well, sometimes they come to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have had them tap me on the shoulder. I have had them playing in my hair, trying to get my attention. Usually it's to give a loved one a message. I get calls from people who want to know if there's weird things going on. They want me to come check it out and see if there's anything there. And if it is, then of course I will connect with them and see what's going on. And then, like I said, before I leave, I will cross them over. I mean, it's not like anything really magic. I've just been able to see them and talk to them since I was little.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's been an incredible thing. And of course, you've been on the show several times doing readings, and a lot of people have gained the gift of your abilities here right on the portal as well. And you're going to be coming up in another week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be
the 28th.
The 28th. You're
doing free readings,
yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, so be ready for that, everybody. And Diane, what is your approach to all of this?
Well, I'm natural, but I have through the years I belonged to like about 5 metaphysical societies and learned all of these modalities, and then of course you kind of distill that and come up with something of your own. Mm-hmm. And so I know how to do a lot of things, but what I mostly do is meditate, and I since I'm also a medium and clairvoyant, I can see and hear things at various times. I mean, it's when I'm paying attention. And yet, in the early days, I used all kinds of things. I still do from time to time, smoke divination and made my own stone oracle and all that kind of thing. I know how to do all that. But right now, it's pretty natural for me. It's like they show up and I talk to them.
That's amazing.
I had some spirit celebrities walking through my living room. So just let you know.
Wonderful. Well, tell them we said hi as well. But now, Joel, your approach is what?
So, I don't even know how to begin. For me, Sean would tell you that I'm a person that feels when the time is right, then Joel moves. I have a tendency I try as hard as I can to walk with both feet with one foot in the physical world and one foot in the spiritual world. That way I'm open up to the possibilities that are available and try to see, and sometimes I get shown signs of what I should do or where I should be at. And I'll just go with my gut. And then before you know it, there's somebody talk to me about something that's going on in their life, or I will be in an area that might have a high spiritual presence. So for me, it's kind of like, I guess you could say, I'm kind of like the feather on the wind. Wherever that energy flow takes me and I land, that's where I'm at. And I just allow that to happen.
And that's brilliant. I think that's a great approach. And Sean, how about you?
Well, for me, I was like this since I was a kid. It's 1 foot in. My senses are attuned so I can feel. But when I look and I look at auras and I see areas that are riddled with ghosts, it's almost like I go into a download mode and can enter a trance, which is why the thing that attacked me tried to blind me and caused my cataracts to get worse, the trauma-induced cataracts, so I wouldn't be able to see, because most of my abilities come through actually seeing and less feeling. Joel and I are exact opposites. And then, of course, there's the thaumaturgy, which is walking in the steps of creation to appreciate the creator and the golden path that's laid before us and helping people get back to it. And I would, when I approach spirits or things, it's usually I'm brought in as this thing doesn't want to go. It doesn't want to get out of the pool. Help. And so I'm one part natural or original, one part thaumaturgist, and one part Goku and Dragon Ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's I know it sounds funny, but that's literally a good portion of what ends up happening on the astral because normally when a medium wants things to move over, they say, it's better on the other side. When I'm dealing with them, they don't care what's on the other side. They're staying unless we make them move. And so I'm the one who puts his shoulder to the mountain and shoves.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's true. And ladies and gentlemen, you should know that each of our guests tonight, Sean and Joel, of course, work a lot of times together on these kind of situations. But as far as the approach, Deb and Diane are I don't want to belittle or conflate any of them, but you and Joel deal with the really dark ones, like the really tough cases and the really possibly demonic plus possibly other things, whereas Deb and Diana might not be as inclined to deal with those things. Is that correct? Is that accurate, you guys?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't mean to misspeak for anybody, but that's as I understand it. So.
But Diane has recently had to deal with some pretty extremely dark stuff. She came into her own fairly recently. So I don't want to make it sound like, no, she never does, but she recently raised the hair on the back of my neck with what she did, which was amazing.
It's actually always.
It's actually what?
It's always been that way.
Oh, yeah. Well, Diane, I do remember when we first met. I think you called into the show and you said that you oftentimes would be dealing with the dark things too. When other people would have problems, you would step in. Is that correct?
I think that that is really what I have often done most of my time. Yes, I spent doing exactly that, which may be why Sean and I get along so well. Is that we do that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Sean and I are kind of part in some of this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And he's really I'm very thankful to have met them.
Right. Well, it's really cool, and that's one of the really cool things about the portal is that we've developed this community of people, in so many different approaches and modalities of the paranormal. But it's like you guys are like the nerve center of the psychic for the show, and it's been really incredible, and that's why I thought this discussion tonight would be so great because it gives us a chance to put all of your minds to a few topics and see what you have to say and share ideas in this form. Now, the portal's always been about sharing ideas, but one thing I wanted to talk about initially is getting in touch with your abilities. So, Joel, you had talked about how when you met Sean was when you kind of figured out, oh, hey, I'm kind of plugged into this too. This is resonating with me, and you found your path. How did you tune your ability? Was there anything specific that you did or any practices that you did to really get in touch with what it is that you do? And I don't mean to beat the same topics over and over, but I think this is really great because I think a lot of our listeners are incredibly interested in this, and many of them are also dealing with getting impressions from things, and a lot of empathy in our audience and listeners, and a lot of untapped ability. And I think a lot of them are on the same journey. It's just that you guys are a little ahead of the rest of us.
I think what ended up happening is after I realized that some of my prophetic dreams I were having, even though they were just like about odd things, like shows I'll be watching, I was having a series of deja vu, just odd things like that. Sean and I started to, like, I knew about auras. Mm-hmm. I knew about, because back during the Cold War, there was reports that the government were doing experiments on remote viewing. And you remember in Search Hub, I watched all those shows, and my mom bought me all these books on ESP. I read a couple books that led me to meditation and self-hypnosis, which kind of helped me open up my some of the gates, so to say,
Sure.
to my abilities. And then after that, I just kind of kept practicing. And then I'm going to plug a book. When I was in the Air Force, there was a series called Earth Medicine by Kenneth Meadows. And that book, that was when I first started to learn more and more about shamanic practices, because I had already learned about some of the shamanic beliefs and dogmas through a gentleman that was helping me with Native American beadwork and things like that. And also when I was in the Air Force, I ran into a German lady who introduced me to Germanic runes and astrology. So
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
there was a lot. And mind you, I graduated high school when I was 17. So I was in the military. I had signed up for the military at 15 um, with a notary for my mom because I knew I wasn't going to college. And then when I went into the military, I just knew I was going to go into the military. And I went to the military at 17, 18.
Okay.
I think I had turned 18 by then. And then I was in the military. I was still kind of growing up in the military, and that's when I found out about all that. And I had a lot of free time on my hands, so I did a lot of research.
Excellent. That's great. We got 4 minutes till break, but Deb, you had already talked about that. You were already born activated, but how did you extend your vision or your abilities?
Well, yeah, I was able to see them. I was able to hear them, but I really didn't understand it a whole lot until when I was in high school. There was a lady that came in, and I took a course. It was called Modern Day Witches. And I sat through the course, and I talked to the lady afterwards, and she got to talking to me about, well, you can do this, you can do that, you can do, and she started explaining to me the things that I did, and I started reading up on things. Then's when everything started making more sense. And as I've gone along, I've and my gift has opened up even more than I've added on to the things that I can do. I've seen the past on some people. I've been able to tell them that. I had a mentor. Her name was Judy, and she helped me a whole lot in understanding, exactly what was going on and why. And I mean, it's just everything that I have learned, everything that's come about, everything that I am about now has been a wonderful, fantastic journey, and it's amazing. And I'm still amazed at things that are around me and things that I can do. I love it dearly.
And it does continue to express itself throughout the course of your life. It's not like age is so much diminishes with age with human beings, but the gifts of the spirit definitely isn't one of them, is it?
Oh, it tends to grow as you hit a plateau. Then something else will come along, and once you hit the plateau on that, then something else will come along, and you're constantly learning. Isn't it not like you get to one point, and you will have moments here and there where you feel like you're going through a stagnant period. And I think all of us have done this, but eventually it will go ahead and clear. And that's usually about the time something else will start. A new gift will open up. But you are, as you go along, you're learning and you're picking up more. And it is a good thing that if you find out you have something, do read up on it. Do find out what's going on. Make sure you know. And if you can find someone to help you along to answer questions and stuff, go ahead. Because there's a lot of us out here that are open and willing to go ahead and talk to you so that you can get to where you need to be.
Yeah, and that's been the great part of all of you guys is your accessibility and your willingness to help and to make a difference. So, and that's what I respect the most. And I think, a lot of people have the idea of psychic is just, it's game shows and charlatans and money making, but you guys are all about the altruism and doing it for the right reasons. And I think all of us immensely respect that. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our break. And of course, we'll be back with a lot more of this discussion and a lot more to discuss. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages. And it's the second half hour of the Paranormal Portal tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Brent Thomas. This show is absolutely live and unrehearsed. And a special thank you to a listener in YouTube, Haxer. He sent a cool package to us. But I'm waiting to unveil it for when Don gets here because it's really cool. It's really epic and amazing. So thank you, brother. I appreciate it. So I'm sorry I didn't mention it before. Yeah, it did arrive, and it's all good. So, but we'll we'll break that open tomorrow on the show. So, it should be a fun show. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we of course are having an epic discussion. Again, the show's live. It's not a re-record. If you're hearing it, it is happening right now on the 21st of December. Just a few days left to shop, ladies and gentlemen, so get her done. But we have 4 special guests with us tonight. We're joined by Debra Varner, Diane Swiger, Joel Robinson, and Sean Gonzales, who are all psychics and have been a part of the Paranormal Portal for a long time and all have been guests and contributors on the show for, the better part of a year or two now. It's just been amazing. So welcome back to the show, guys. And as before break, we were right at the point where we were talking about, how do you get in touch with your gifts and abilities? And the reason that I'm asking this is, it's because I think that many of us out here listening and are on this same journey. We're just not quite there yet. So I'm kind of looking for tips and tricks and hacks that you guys might have found out that may help the rest of us on our journeys as well. So Diane, why don't we go to you? And can you tell us what you've done to really dial in your sight and your vision and your ability?
Well, I died. I don't recommend that as being one of your first options, though.
Okay, well, after that part, anything else?
I don't recommend it.
No, we won't be advocating that. But is that really it? I mean, you don't have any special practices, or do you meditate or things like that?
Well, yes, I do. I meditate. I have spirit helpers that I use that are very powerful, and they actually do most of the heavy lifting for me. And I stay connected. You know what? A deep connection with nature. I would recommend that for anybody. Is the more you get connected with nature. I mean, sending rain to California was because I have a deep connection with nature and the cloud beings. And Sean can tell you, it even rained in the desert a little bit.
Very cool.
It wasn't a little bit. It flooded.
That's amazing.
Oh, they really listen to me. So, get in touch with nature, get in touch with the earth, get in touch with reality. Or the earth is real. Nature is real, okay? And it will respond to you. So if you can get more in touch with that, and also, of course, like I said, I have some very powerful helpers. Meditation is a big part of it. I belonged to 5 different metaphysical societies at one time and founded 2 of them. I wanted to learn everything I could learn. And so, I guess, but my major practice these days is probably meditation and energy work. The more energy work you do, the more you get plugged into that, and nature. Yeah, that would have to be it encapsulated.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I think that's brilliant. I think you really hit a real key point because, to me, what nature's like the great resetter and it's the great balancer, and it just kind of, to me, and I don't pretend to be working on the caliber you guys are, and that's not what I'm trying to imply, but I know what a healing factor it is for me to go out into the wilderness, and just decompress. And to just let those energies just flow. And it's like hosing off your soul, for lack of a better term, for me personally. And so I really deeply connect with what you're talking about, because that's a real powerful thing for me as well, is getting connected to nature and just releasing. So that's great. Who haven't we asked yet? Sean, did we ask you already?
No, no.
Okay, well then you're next year.
Okay. Well, for me, of course, I had so many of these things were already working, but I always felt like I was kind of bare and left naked before the wolves. And so the first thing that I think I was really shown was meditation, but also how to do it in multiple fashions, because you can't always find a place to sit down. You park yourself and then stretch yourself out and begin to meditate. So I had to learn how to meditate through different mediums, different things that would launch me there, looking into a pool, mirror, or doing it while moving, marching, running, all that kind of thing. Because sometimes you have to get to that state in an emergency. You can't wait for a quiet moment. And so I had to learn how to do it while on the dash. And then when the thing that I think was the biggest launching factor for my abilities was when Joel and I finally met. We could then compare notes and work together. Having a partner or a person or a group to be able to fall back on is amazing. Now, the big problem with a lot of groups I've encountered out there is that sometimes they play a little hierarchical game where they're not as interested in learning as maintaining a pecking order. With Joel and I, there was none of that. And when you can find that elevates you fast. And so he and I would compare notes, talk about things that we could craft, things that we could see, astral, things on the astral. And then the next big learning tool was dream control. Because when we could finally control our dreams, Joel and I could actually link our dreams together. And it was a rare thing, but we would dream fast. And then the next step was astral projection. It all took off from that. That's these are the tools, the path that he and I walked that seemed to make things accelerate until we parted. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, for me, it was reading through the books on thaumaturgy and reading all lore. I read like I told you on the show some time ago, 77,000 pages in just 6 months of high school, just on this kind of thing alone.
Wow. Yeah, you were like a sponge.
Yeah. And I just kept reading and reading until eventually I got to the point where I began to feel aware of my awareness. And once I was finally aware of how deeply layered we are within this world, it began to feel like I could separate myself from it when needed and move through it to the places where I needed to learn, and taking learning from anybody who had to offer it, no matter whether it was counter to what I understood or whether it fell in line, was just taking it all in and then allowing it to move me across plateaus. Joel and I used to call it breaking out, because when we were younger, we would have these moments where all of a sudden the pineal gland would have a shift, and then we'd have these ridiculous nosebleeds for no reason. And it felt like somebody had a vibrating ice pack stuck in our head for a couple of days until we realized that we could now move more energy and things were slightly different.
Wow.
We could see things better. And that's why I think for younger folks, it is crucial to try and find groups where you can work together for the betterment of the group, not for some chicanery.
Sure. All right, you guys willing to take a phone call? Because I see we got one on the board here. You guys all good with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, good. Let's get this person on the air and see what's on their mind. Area code 484, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, how is everyone tonight?
I'm sorry?
We're great.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. I had a question for actually everyone.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on palm reading as far as not psychic ability, but really reading the minds? I've been palm reading for a long time, and I found it to be quite accurate.
That's a great question. Great question. Sean, do you want to start off with that
I
one?
can.
Oh, or Deb, yeah. Any one of you, whichever one would like to speak
Yeah,
up first.
I do that also. A lot of times I use that as a lead in doing my reading. I will start out reading the palms and then go on into the rest of the reading. It seems to calm the people a little bit because it's something that they're more used to, is what I found out. So yeah, I believe in it, and yes, I do use it, and I love using it actually.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I feel like any form of divination is really valuable into knowing it. Divination helps you get in touch with your higher self, that part of you that's still connected with the creator source, and then that way it helps you see where you are in your spiritual journey, and that's kind of important because inside, these people already know they have the answers inside them. They just don't know how to look inside of them to access it. And with palm reading or any divination, we act as a conduit between their higher self and their subconscious, and then we can give them that message that they've been trying to decipher, that their ego's been trying to not look at.
I'd like to add something. One of the things I've learned about divination is that any form is a valid form when practiced correctly. My thoughts on palm reading and palmistry is that I have no experience with it, but I have seen people who can do it. And to understand that being able to get answers is of any kind on a person that needs to have answers about their future, etc., in divining, they all work as and they're all valid because there's no wrong way to draw water from a well. There's just many different ways to get it out.
Diane,
Thank you for that. I have one more thing I wanted to ask. You all are familiar with outer body experiences and near-death experiences where they go through the tunnel. I wasn't near death, but I had the same exact experience, and I was popped out of my body, and it sounded like this, like a pop. And I went immediately in a tunnel, and I was going like in a dark direction, and then a voice came, and it turned me around to the right. This is so corny. And the voice said to me, "Peppy, you have not finished your communion yet." And I fought like hell to get back in my body because I couldn't move. I couldn't move anything. So what would you say about that when it's so near a near-death experience, but no one was dying?
To give you to give you my experience, is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, please.
All right. When this thing that had tracked me from Wales, I don't know what to name it, but if you we call it the bog creature. When it finally tracked me down in Idaho and I was by myself and we fought, it grabbed me and yanked me clean out of my body. And this was the first time I've ever been projected without me doing it for myself. So when people ask me, would you yank me out of my body so I can actually project, the answer is no. Because what happened was, though we fought and tussled, I ended up dragging it into the earth, which is not something you're supposed to do. You're not actually you're supposed to use the earth as a cleanser. I used it as like diving into a pool to drag it down, and I couldn't come back from that. It moved on and was damaged, but I couldn't get back to my body. And what happened when I was falling downwards to this bright light within the earth was that my grandfather actually came and picked me up. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Sure.
He picked me up and wrapped me in a towel like he did when he would wash me as a baby. And he carried me up and said, El niño está limpio ya. The little boy is clean now. And then I woke up in my body. I'm sorry.
No, that's beautiful.
So, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I hate being super emotional, but
sorry. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
So that's my experience with it.
Now, Diane, you've also got experience with this. What do you have anything to add?
Oh, a heck of a lot. Oh, and I want to also say my opinion on the palmistry is I used to do that, and it is valid as far as I can tell. And I agree with Sean that every type of divination is valid, and I actually am going to make a video about why I think that is. It is really powered by the person, not the modality. But now I will go on to the out-of-body experience. Of course, I did have an out-of-body experience when I had my NDE, when I died. And I did a lot of, and the funny thing was, I did a lot of studies on out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences before any of this happened to me, almost as if I had a premonition that this was going to happen to me. Then when I had that prophetic dream, and it actually did happen, I was pretty well prepared for it, even though it was kind of surprised the way it it was like, still I was surprised that I actually, it was like, oh gosh, this means I'm going to, die and be, I thought it was going to die. I didn't know I was going to come back. The dream hadn't said anything about that, but out-of-body experiences, like I said, I met some very interesting people that way. And I would say there are safe ways to do it and not safe ways to do it. And you heard one not so safe way from dear Sean. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's not the way you want to do it generally. You want to do it in a more peaceful way. I would like to say that there are some videos that I've seen that can help you with that, and there are even frequencies that help you with it. Also, lucid dreaming is very close to that state. If you learn to lucid dream, you can also learn to OOBE, and vice versa. So that's something that I've heard. So,
well, I'm going to hang up, but I wanted to say really quickly, this was not lucid dream. This was something very, very different. I mean, I was literally snatched away. Sure. And I wasn't asleep. I wasn't in bed. I was in a car sitting there wide awake. Wow. So it was pretty bizarre. But I appreciate all of you tonight, and I'm just going to listen. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Can I say that? Can I just explain really quick that dream time is what the shamans use, and it's just a step away from an out-of-body experience. It's the same place. Basically, okay. It's the same place. So it's not that I was saying she was dreaming. It was that I was saying if you want it to happen more, one of the things you can do is learn to lucid dream, and then from there you can leave your body.
Oh, okay. So
if you want to do it
as a method of acclimating and learning to walk in that way. Yeah. I think that's fun. Yeah.
It's what Joel and I did in order to be able to learn how to do it. What lucid dreaming literally is astral projection with sort of like training wheels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
I've heard it said once that sleep is a cousin to death. So, I mean, they're both pretty close together. And that's why if you can learn to lucid dream, you can learn to have an out-of-body experience. But just to have a spontaneous one while doing something like driving, yeah, that's pretty significant. And I'm glad she came on to share that with us. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic.
It must have been incredibly scary, huh? I mean, when you think about that, if you're in your car and you're yanked out of your body, that would have to have been horrifying, I would think. Maybe it's hard in the moment to process exactly what's going on, but when you get back, like I've fallen asleep as I was driving, just nodding off. Just, I was absolutely exhausted, and I nodded off. And I woke up in such a panic, and it was like, oh my God, just those moments. So I wonder if actually she's still there. I should see if she's still there. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm listening.
Okay, so was the car moving when this happened? I'm just curious for more detail.
Well, no, I was sitting in the passenger seat, but I was wide awake, and I could hear the people outside of my vehicle talking, and I was, I wasn't near tired. There was nothing.
Sure.
And it made that noise. Literally, it went like this. like a suction cup.
Wow.
And it felt like a suction cup.
Did you have an intuitive feeling like something pulled you out, or do you think it was just some kind of shift in yourself? Like, did you feel like something was controlling this for you or against you?
Something was. Yes, because the voice said to me when I went towards the light, it used my name. It said, Peppy, you have not finished your communion yet. And I had to struggle really hard because I was paralyzed. It was like,
Yeah.
really intense. Really intense.
Right. Yeah. And
I've had other things happen to me. That was very, very, very strange.
yeah, there's no question.
That popping sound, from some of the things I've read and from some of the people I've talked to, is a very common thing with spontaneous, like, astral projection, like leaving your body. So I have no doubts in my mind that that's what happened, and that could be a terrifying, like that would be a terrifying experience.
Right. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here with us, and once again, thank you for sharing that story.
It wasn't terrifying. It was reassuring because somebody personally knew my name, and told me that I hadn't finished my communion, and that was significant.
Right. So that's saying like your journey isn't done yet. Yeah.
Right.
He wasn't scared at all. That's awesome.
That is. Wow. Great encounter. Was that Deb trying to talk?
No, it's not.
Okay. I heard something, but I wasn't sure. It's sometimes hard to tell, and that's of course, the hard part about doing a panel.
What?
Is that there's a lot of voices, and none of them are mine. So, but was there anything else that you wanted to ask or comment on?
There's always so much, but I'm not going to take up the valuable time. I'll just listen. And thank you all so much.
Well, if you have anything more that you'd like more feedback on, please feel free to email us at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and I'll be sure to forward it to all or whichever the guests tonight that you'd like to continue this dialogue with. But, they've always extended themselves to help. So thank you so much for calling in, and we love you, and I really appreciate you being a part of the show.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right, good evening. All right, guys. Well, that was excellent. That's that is so cool. And as long as it was a positive experience, that really is amazing to me. I'm so glad it wasn't a negative experience because, my God, Sean, if I had experienced something like you had where it yanked you out, man, that's a whole different game.
It actually hurt. The thing speared me through my right breast next to my right shoulder, through my rib cage just below my heart, and then it wrapped its tendril around my left arm. And I thought, oh, we're going to play tug of war. Nope. This thing just pulled, and there was a wrenching sensation. Like all of a sudden I was moving 1,000,000 miles an hour and then stopped. Wow. And my body, I heard it hit the ground behind me. And I realized I wasn't, that everything had gone astral. Understanding the feeling is, because it's significantly different from the normal world, and but it's as vivid as the real world. But at the same time, the reason why they call it the astral plane is because it's dark. It's like you're amongst the stars. Only living things give off light, and the dark thing in the dark became darker, and there was very little giving off light, and that was just me, and the earth itself, which is why. For me, I realized it was the only place for me to go, for me to take this thing, because it was winning. It had gotten me good. And for this to spontaneously happen to her, it seems to me, by the way that it just naturally occurred, because that's naturally occurring. I didn't hear a pop. It just felt like I was suddenly accelerated in a roller coaster at, like I said, 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then jerked to a stop. It happened organically for her, which means somebody wanted to message her, and it was probably the best way to get the message to her quickly. Wow.
Yeah, and that's a great point. That's a great insight on that. That was to convey a message. I find it very interesting, the subtleties that many of you have explained to me that spirits will sometimes utilize to try to get messages through. And Diane, I actually used your report story about a pair of dimes because somebody on Twitter I saw had posted that somebody had passed, and now they keep finding dimes, and it's usually two of them. And could it be a message? So I went, I said,
Hey, that was.
I said,
What can I say?
all I can tell you is I sounded really smart. So thank you for that. But you guys, we're going to go take our hour break here, so we will be right back. The phone lines are open in the last hour here, so if you want to call in and ask some questions, please feel free. 313-213. Oh, God, what the hell is our number? It is 213-233-3998, 213-233-3998, or 833-TFR Live. So don't go away. We'll be right back for another hour of this incredible journey tonight. We'll be right back.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Why, yes, they can, ladies and gentlemen, but that's why we have the Paranormal Portal. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a good break. I hope you got everything taken care of that you needed to, because we are back in action and rolling as it seems. It's been a great journey so far tonight. Some great discussion and some great insights. And I always appreciate when you guys call in. This is your opportunity to have a conversation with four incredible people and ask your questions and get some feedback. Everybody's got a different approach and everybody's got a little different insight. And, it's the amazing thing to me is that, it's such an incredible experience to know all of you guys, and to have your gifts available to all of us. I mean, for me personally, it's meant the world, because when I started the portal, one of the things that I really thought about was, how many people are out there that just have no way of dealing with this, and they don't know what to do. They don't know, if you call in somebody, is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better? Is it going to be, what do you do? And then there's so many people doing it badly out there. But you guys have all been amazing and have just done some incredible things, and really made the portal able to offer not only information, not only stories, not only entertainment, but also help. And you guys have just been a gift for all of us.
I'm honored.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Honored.
It's been a great experience, Brent.
I've never been so humbled in my life as to be called on when you've had people in need.
Oh, well, and it just means the world to me to be able to steer people towards somebody, that I believe in. And that's the key for me, is that I got to believe in you, and all four of you people I believe in very much. And it's been great. So, before, we were talking about, we'd start talking about guides, a little bit. Now, are any of the four of you, do all four of you utilize guides for your journey and your vision and your ability, or does any of you not use guides? I guess that's
I didn't.
I didn't.
You don't? Anyone?
Okay. I do, especially when I do Reiki. It's quite interesting, because when I get somebody on the table and we start working, they'll ask me, so who was that came in and helped?
So people are
I
actually
felt 3
experiencing
set
it.
of hands on me.
Oh, that's really cool. That's very powerful, right?
It's common for Reiki practitioners and healing practitioners to have healing guides. It gets to be pretty interesting when you get somebody on the table, and it's a skeptic or somebody who you don't. I usually don't warn people about that kind of stuff. I usually just work with it. And then usually about the second or third time, I usually tell people, you might feel an extra set of hands. That's normal. And then they tell me, yeah, I noticed that the first couple of times, but there was nobody there. And I was like, yeah, well, can't explain that one to you. It'll take too long.
No, that's really cool. And Deb, I know you use guides. You and I have talked about that at length, and I think that's amazing. But I guess my question is to all of you, because I suppose you all utilize some form of guidance, and whether that's encapsulated in in a spiritual presence or not, probably doesn't matter because it's just your interpretation of the energy. But how do you get in touch with them? What is the best way for people to find their guides and to learn to communicate?
If this one's a broad one, then
Yeah, I guess I should aim that at somebody. But go ahead, Sean, since you started.
okay. Well, for me, it was a different situation. Like I said, I didn't because I didn't have exactly guides. I had guardians.
Okay.
And I could ask them questions, but they don't really volunteer. They were something I inherited from my family as a means of protecting. So whoever it was that had who had the gifts, it followed, and this is on my mother's side of the family. So I had these 4 elementals follow me, and I was told I could make them my servants, or I could just make them. I instead made them my friends, and so I think it was 3 years ago, I was actually told that I had a guide, but because of my experience, I never reached out to them, never reached out to this one, and it's kind of funny because my job. What I do is I work in nutrition, health, healing with exogenous materials, natural stuff, plants. And my guide, turns out, her name was Airmid. And apparently she'd been with me all along. And it turns out that that's what she did. She was considered the deity of herbs and magic in Ireland.
Oh,
and so apparently she had been influencing me, and she was the one who, when I was attacked, protected me the very first time and then had to let me develop on my own. But her touch made it so that she and I were bonded. And then whenever I need advice on certain things, I can turn to her, or she'll catch my attention. But how I learned to hear her was how I would communicate with the elementals, which is to calm my mind, to remove all expectation, to silence the inner thoughts, and just hear without ego. And so when I finally started speaking with Aramid, it was just a matter of knowing that there was a redheaded lady who had considered herself my mother, for waiting for me to listen.
Wow. Okay, very cool. Anybody have anything else to add to that?
Yeah.
Okay, please do. We do have a call we have a call waiting, but yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to add.
Okay. I most definitely use guides and have noticed that they change from time to time. Usually you have a main one or two, and then you end up having others that come in who are specialists from time to time. Like I even ended up one time getting a message that someone named Royal was around. Now that would be Royal. The only Royal I know is Royal Rife, who was coming up with the Rife frequencies, who came up with frequencies that could actually destroy disease. So, there are specialists that come into your life for a reason, and maybe your guide for just a little while, or maybe they like hanging around you and you're really catching on and they hang out longer. Okay. But I also have helpers, which are also a guide of a sort, because you learn a lot from them, but they help you do things. And I'm sure the elementals would fall in, that Sean is talking about, would fall into this category of things, allies, what the Indians would call allies, what the Native Americans, First Nation would call your allies, your spirit allies.
Okay.
Help you. Like the spirits of nature will help you. They would be your allies. Would they be your guides? Yes, they could be that too.
Okay.
Because you can learn a lot from them. So your guides can be almost anything, can be a rock or a stone or almost anything, really. Okay. In that way, you can learn from the cards. Like I do the Native American medicine cards and the Sacred Path cards, I learned so much by reading those
Ah,
that was a sort of guidance.
very cool.
So, just like putting it in a nutshell, I think we get guidance whether we know it or not,
Very good point. Very
whether we
good
see
point.
it that way.
And Deb, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we have guides all through our life, and it's like she said, they change sometimes, and it depends upon what we need at the time. I've talked to some people who have basically had the same guides all their lives, and I have also talked to others that as they needed something specific, there has been somebody that came in.
Mm.
So I've also had people explain. I know there's a lot of people that have heard that little voice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, usually that's your guides. People will talk about, if I had listened to that little voice tell me not to do that. Well, that's what they're there for. They're there to help keep you on the right path, and they're there to help you keep from doing things that could hurt you, could harm you. Yeah, I mean, you can talk to your guides. You can get in contact with them. You can use them when you need them, but always make sure you thank them for anything that they do to help you. But they're wonderful things. And yes, I use my guides all the time.
Excellent. All right. Well, we got a call coming from Hawaii. So let's get to this call. 808, you're on the air.
Hi, Brent. Hi, Debra, and the rest of the Paranormal Ohana.
Hi.
This is Lena.
Hello.
Hi, Lena. How you doing?
Hi.
What's on
Okay.
your mind
No,
tonight?
this is on the lines. This is along the lines of the out of body experience.
Mm-hmm.
It happened to me back when I was 17 years old. I was in a beating incident. I was beaten near death and taken to the hospital. And they pretty much had me that I was dead, but I wasn't. I ended up seeing my dad, who passed away when I was about 10 years old.
Wow.
And there was a field of roses, red roses, and a bridge. And I wanted to go to my dad. And he stopped me. I mean, it wasn't vocal. It was like a mind reading situation.
Sure.
And he told me, no, I have to go back because my mom needs me. See, I'm the baby of the family.
Oh, wow.
And since then, I'm kind of sensitive as to when something bad's going to happen within the family. I have this like butterfly feeling in my stomach, and it stays there until it actually happens.
So,
like a massive accident or a death.
Right. You know, and Lena, actually, I have a similar situation. It's like and it's almost terrible because I can feel when bad things are coming. I don't know what they are. I don't know when they are. I don't know how big they'll be. Well, I can usually tell how big they'll be by the feeling in my stomach, how intense it is. But it's nice to know. It's nice to have that foresight, but it's also agonizing because you can't really do anything about it. So that is really powerful, though. I'm glad to hear you say that because I didn't know of anybody else that experienced that same kind of thing. Maybe everybody does. I don't know, but that's really cool.
And I drive my family nuts by calling them and, are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? You know, I keep doing it until it clears.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So did you have a question for anybody about that experience?
Yeah, whoever could come up with why is that?
I can.
Okay.
Okay. The reason why you're feeling it in your the fluttering in your belly button and in your stomach, the feeling like it's stage fright, like you're going on stage and you're afraid to get out there in front of the audience, is because something's there trying to convey that information to you. That's when you haven't developed all of your talents completely. That's where you feel it. That's why they say go with your gut. What's your gut tell you? Mm-hmm. Because your navel chakra is the one that's getting the information, and it doesn't know how to interpret anything. It just gets the raw information and it puts you on the flutters. So the next thing to do is to reach and this is the hard part. I know that you'll hear people say, "I just got to meditate." No, because when you're in this mindset, there, meditation is like, yeah, what's that? You can't get to a calm state. Which is why earlier on when I said you really have to manage to work to get to that, so that you can get to it at any state, at any time, whether it's walking, sitting down, so that you can get past the hard stuff. Think of it as a kind of boot camp. You have to get past that obstacle course, so that when things later on happen like this, you can pull the information up to the brow chakra and pull in the interpretations. When Joel and I first met, that was how I used to get premonitions. It would be gut feelings. And then Joel said something fantastic, as Joel usually does. So, why don't you focus on it? See if you can't bring it to the fore. And because Joel's there, he and I are like foci for each other. I worked on it, and then this was, he'll even tell you about this. We were out, and I said, my mother needs me home. She's just been called by the Red Cross, and I have to go back to the house. We got to go. And we get back, and she was working for the Red Cross with my brother. And sure enough, there it was. And so it's a matter of getting that from down there pulled up to where your mind can work on it. You got to pull it up so that requires meditation and being able to open the chakras up to, at the very least, the brow chakra, so that the images can come in that whatever's trying to send them to you can bring.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Good.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, we both learned something tonight. That's great.
You're really.
There's another part of that too, and I agree with everything he said. This is Dee. I agree with everything he said, and would add that I have learned that there is not just a brain in your head that you think with. There is also, and we are finding this out scientifically too, that your heart has a type of awareness, and so does your gut. Mm-hmm. And they are actually starting to have to admit that now. That really, you have more than one brain. And your gut is really the one that many of us, I think, rely on the most. Mm-hmm. Because your head can kind of trick you, and so can your heart in a way. Your heart can be so open and loving, and your head can be so logical, but your gut seems to know.
Oh, okay.
And it's also the term where you hear people say, I was waiting for inspiration. When you breathe in, you're breathing to your stomach. You're breathing into the diaphragm. You're pulling everything down and in. And so that's where they used to believe that insight would come from. And so someone who told me that attention and focus are maintained on the breath. So when you inhale, that's when things are drawn in. And so you should focus on that. Inspiration in, not just light, inspiration, understanding, and expelling ignorance, darkness, upset, because those emotions are base emotions, and they link you to the earth rather than to the higher states, so that you can get the message you need, whatever they're trying to give you, so that you can pass it on.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, it's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Lena. That's wonderful to hear from you.
Thank you.
All right, my lady. Well, take care. All right. Have a great night.
I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. I promise I'll let more go by. I'm sorry.
No. Well, that's the thing. It's whoever's got something to say can say it. We can continue the discussion as well. But what you guys are saying is really resonating with me personally, because Lena and I share that same thing. It's like getting these darn feelings, and then what do you do with it? And this is exactly what I wanted the show to be about. What do we do with it? Because, a lot of us are on the same journey, as I said before, but we're stuck at points. We're stuck at our individual points, and it's just really neat that Lena and I have that same thing going on, because it drives me crazy when that happens, and I didn't know exactly what to do with it. Another approach that I took with it, Sean and Joel and Deb and Dee, is that what I tried to do is to counter the energy. In other words, and it sometimes has worked out really, really, I think really well, is that I feel that negative energy building in what is coming. And instead of being subject to it, what I've been trying to do is envision that massive energy. I can't say what it is. I can't say what's going to happen. But all I do is push a positive energy into it and try to rewrite it and change it. And I believe very firmly that it has altered the situation to a degree that has perhaps avoided very terrible things. I don't know, because it's one of those things you can't know what could have happened, but all I can tell you is what it felt like versus what actually happened were, two very different things. And I was really grateful that that was all that it was. But I just, and I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I believe that we are fundamentally creators as well. That reading is incredibly important and powerful, but maybe we can even go a step further and change those things. And Sean, I know with your thaumaturgy that that would speak to that as well, right?
Yes, but the thing is that the flow of the energy, fighting it is not necessarily the answer. So, guiding it is usually what you want to do. Fighting is more effort than, in martial arts, best term I could give you is a straight block. Usually requires a lot of effort, and it requires a lot of you have to get used to the punishment. But in the martial arts that I took, most of them were actually redirecting the energy and allowing you to move through it. So moving it where you want it to be instead is a far easier, far more organic way of doing things. Such as with a plant, when it wants to grow, you don't hold back its growth. You direct it to where it can grow so that you can get more out of it. And so that's why I said it's easier to bring it up and move it through you so that you can register it, read it, and do what you need to do with it.
Sure.
And knowing that it's on the breath and feeling it flow. Also, the chakras don't work from the top down. They work from the dragon's breath up. It's the energy from within reaching out to the eternal. So trying to force it back the other way can give you results, but it can also stagger the results that maybe that is intended originally.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that. Deb, what do you think of this? Oh, go ahead, Joel. Sorry.
So, all right. What I was, he was saying about thermology. The one thing about my experience with shamanism, I can't say this is everybody's experience in shamanism, but what it is actually being able to see all the different reality and pick out the reality that's closer to what you need it to be. That's also affected by everybody's lenses, every individual's lens. If you believe you can only achieve a certain point, then you're only going to be able to achieve that point. But once you're able to realize you can influence an outcome of a situation, you can subtly influence that to the outcome that you need it to be, or you want, that's the most desirable for that event. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's great feedback. Thank you very much. And Deb, what do you think about that?
The best example I could give for something like that would be Florence. When she came through, she had gotten so bad that there were so many voices and so much positive energy put towards her not destroying things as much as if she had hit where she was at. She dwindled down before she actually hit. That was because there were so many people. that was throwing out the positive energy, that was throwing out the prayers, and everything together just made a difference. You can change the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I have always believed that. You can always change the outcome, but it's how you deal with what's going on.
Good point. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's really, really... Go ahead.
I was just going to say this is one of my pet subjects, so I have to mention
Sure.
that one of the things that really irks me is when people give a reading and they just act like that is it. It is set in stone. No, it isn't.
Diane?
It's not.
Diane,
You have free will.
Exactly. Hold that thought, because I want to come back to that after break. I don't think that can be said enough. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our last break of tonight. So don't go away, and we'll come back with the last segment of the show. And the call-in board is open, so we'll be right back. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and thank you guys for joining us on this Friday night. If you are still looking for something to help you on your journey to better health, please check out ialife.com. It's an incredible CBD oil developed by Chris and Chirigio, owners of TFR Live, and amazing people. It's an amazing product. It's something I use myself and have found enormous benefit and enormous health. I just feel, that it really makes a difference. It's one of those things that you take and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I've noticed that a lot of the things, the little aches and pains, the little naggy things that would always go on have gotten so much better. And I feel like even things like I don't know how I sleep at night has improved, and I'm not a good sleeper, and I'm still not a good sleeper, but I'm a better sleeper now. And it's an infusion of absolutely organic materials infused with the bee cappy from the ayahuasca vine. That's not the psychoactive part, but it's the healer part. It's regarded by the shaman in the Amazon as the healer of the ayahuasca brew, and it is just amazing. So check it out, ialife.com. You won't find a better tasting blend. You won't find a more reasonably priced, high quality blend. Most of that stuff tastes like you're chewing on a shoe when you're finding it out there, and this stuff is really good. I mean, palatable. You can just put it in your mouth. You don't need to mix it in 5 other things just to get it down. So check it out, ialife.com, ladies and gentlemen. So we are joined tonight by 4 special guests here on the portal: Debra Varner, Diane Swiger, Joel Robinson, and Sean Gonzales, who are all active participants and contributors and guests of the Paranormal Portal in so many regards. But they are here tonight to discuss the spirit, the nature of spirit, and the nature of ability, and the nature, how it affects our world, and what this all means. And we've been having a great discussion, great call-ins as well. But I would like to hit a couple of points, if possible, before the end of the show. But ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are always open. Actually, we got a call, and I guess we could get to that first, because I always want to make sure our callers get heard. We can always have you guys back on to continue our regular discussion anytime, but we got to take advantage of calls. So let's get this call on. And this is Lewis. How you doing, Lewis?
Hey, what's up, Brent?
How you doing, brother? Good to hear from you. What's going on tonight?
Oh, nothing much, man. Just been having a lot of balls of energy just keep manifesting.
You're getting orbs?
So I'm getting, just balls of energy, not orbs.
Not orbs. Okay.
Sometimes, like 2 days ago, I just got see a cloud of yellow while working.
Wow.
So I'm not sure if I don't know if either Sean or the other ones can help me out with what's going on.
Sure. Why don't you, Sean? Do you want to go ahead?
Without a sensing him, which I'd need a picture, I couldn't tell him what's going on around him. This is actually more in Deb's bailiwick than mine.
Okay, Deb, what do you think?
It just seems like right now there's something going on. Lewis hang on. Have you actually had more energy lately? It's like your body is actually putting off the energy itself. It's almost like little balls of lightning around you.
I don't know. Can't say.
Well, that's what it feels like. It feels like your system, for some reason, and I'm wondering, it could possibly be the full moon that's causing you to put off more energy, and it feels like it's a good energy, but it's almost like there's little balls of lightning around you, and it's basically coming from you, and I don't really think it's anything you have to worry about. It's maybe just that there's so much energy within you that your system is putting off these little balls of energy.
Yeah, could be. Because I'm just feeling tingly all over every day
Mm.
around my crown chakra.
And that's what it feels like. Is they're basically coming from you. I guess it's an excess energy, so you're just it's an offshoot from you. But
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it'll go away before too very long.
Aramid wanted me to ask: are you are you feeling restless at night, and you could walk for like 10 miles and still come home and it barely feels like you went anywhere?
No, I'm more like just not sleeping enough. Like I got too much energy.
Right, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
Have you tried walking? Yeah, she's saying that it's you're about to crack a plateau of some kind. She's reminded me that when I was younger, because I couldn't see these things off myself, but I couldn't sleep, and there's sometimes I just go for like a 10-mile walk one direction, 10 miles back, and come home about 2:00 in the morning and be like, "Yep, I'm still not sleepy."
Sometimes. Most likely I just want to.
I think
Most
could
likely I
be
just play games.
fun and entertaining.
What was that, Diane?
I'm sorry.
I said it sounds to me like he's coming up on an awakening. And when that happens, sometimes your Kundalini energy starts moving around differently than you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
He might even be getting ready to have some sort of Kundalini experience.
Yeah.
Might I suggest?
Colors.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead. Diane was saying something about colors.
Oh.
Oh, I was just saying, those are all lower chakra colors. Sounds like something's going on with those chakras. The red, orange, and yellow are lower chakras. Could be something going on with your Kundalini, especially if you are restless and can't sleep at night. It sounds like you're getting ready for some kind of awakening, and that would be my take on it in a nutshell.
Very cool. Go ahead,
Do
Joe.
you have an item that you can focus that excess energy, like maybe a crystal you could store that energy in, or maybe a tool that you use? Because you might be able to use that at a later time, and that would help you dissipate some of that excess energy and possibly get you back to sleep. The reason why I bring that up is because when I was first had my first attunement for Reiki and every other attunement afterwards, when I would wake up and I would be what would wake me up was the amount of energy that was coming off of me. When you first get to attunements, where you first start learning about Reiki, it's a common thing for people. I call it the light switch. Their light switch will go on in the middle of the night, and my wife used to literally push me away from her because I would cause her to heat up too much because my body would just start just heating up so much, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would literally lay my hands on her so I can get rid of some of the energy. But I would recommend maybe if you have a crystal or some sort of focus, some sort of vessel that can receive that extra energy, that you can put it in there, and maybe you can store it for a later time when you need it.
Do you have any crystals,
I don't know
Lewis?
how to.
Lewis, do you have crystals?
Yeah, but I'm even I picked up some from everywhere. Like camping. I found some.
Yeah, so
And I took some home.
maybe that's what you got to do is just, would you guys recommend, like, Joel, would you recommend him meditating, holding crystals, and just consciously pushing that in there?
Yeah, well, not pushing it in because you never really want to force. What you would do, because he sound like he would be like me, and I'm sure Sean can attest to that. Everywhere I go, I'll pick up something, a rock or momentum,
Whatever calls
something.
to you at the moment, yeah.
And I still have a collection of stone shells, petrified wood, things that I pick up wherever I go, and except for Hawaii. I didn't bring anything back from Hawaii. But what I would recommend is just closing your eyes and get into that meditative breathing, for 4-4-3-3 or whatever pattern breathing you want to do, and that's breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 3, hold for 3. Um, but I would recommend like get in there, clearing your mind out, and just um, having a mental image of that energy coming up through your body and through your hands and into the object that you're holding, preferably something that's of natural fibers, wood, silk, stone, crystal. It really doesn't matter as long as it's natural because it will accept it a lot easier.
Excellent. Now, Diane, you had mentioned the Kundalini. If it is, do you have any methods that he can use to help that along?
Well, yeah, and also I would say there is the Reiki energy that sometimes gets spontaneously triggered too if you have done it in another life. So, well, if you don't agree with other lives, I'm sorry, but that is the way that it was taught to me. But yeah, it could also be the Reiki flow, but it's all energy. And it sounds to me like Lewis is getting geared up to do energy work, in which case, yeah, it would be good if he would try to put it into something. I would say Joel's a suggestion about crystals is good, but he might want to see if anybody wants to be, quote unquote, the guinea pig to see if he can actually help them.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that, you may have some friends that are kind of dealing with low energy right now, and maybe just kind of reach over and put your arm around them and pat them and leave a little bit of that energy with them and help them out some along the way.
And remembering that there is no such thing as accidents. If this is happening, it's happening for a reason. You just need to go and find the reason it's occurring, and match the action to the purpose.
I agree. That's one of the things to do, and try to get. You can even say, I'm feeling very energetic. How about you? And if they're saying not so much, well, maybe I can help. If you feel to say that.
Yeah, if you're having that.
The same going on. The same thing is going on with my new current job coach, because she's empathic, or she's intuitive.
Cool.
So we're linking up pretty easily.
Well,
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah.
I was saying that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes when you, I think that's kind of what happened when me and Sean met, because when we started to meet, our energy kind of fed off each other because I have a tendency to be a little bit empathic, and it makes sense. So yeah, and find out if it's okay, because I was on the understanding that this is happening at night and you couldn't sleep. If it's happening during the day, yeah, their suggestions are awesome suggestions. Definitely do that. And if you have somebody who's willing to accept Reiki energy, just find out, get permission to send it to them in the middle of the night when it happens. Like, just ask them, hey, this kind of happens to me sometimes in the middle of the night, and I have a lot of energy I need to put off. Is it okay if I send you this energy as this happens? And you can actually do distance healing that way, as long as they give you an okay and you're familiar enough with them that you can be able to access their vibration from a distance.
Very cool.
Wow. Thanks for your inputs.
Oh, thanks for calling in, Lewis. It's always good to hear from you, brother.
Oh, yeah, it's about time to talk.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Actually, it's also
what was that,
And I'm
Diane?
telling you right now, that has to do with it. It does, absolutely. I'm getting a ping on that. This person that you met, that is in your life right now, it has to do with that. I'm getting a very definite yes on that. That has a lot to do with this.
Very
Just
cool.
to let you know.
Oh yeah.
Well, very good. Good luck with that, Lewis, and
Alright.
keep us posted. And of course, you know that all of the people you're talking to are always a part of the Portal family, so you can always talk to them for more advice if you should need it. But thank you for calling in, brother.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, have a good night.
You too.
Cool. Well, that was great, guys. Thank you for adding that advice. That's amazing. It's we should do this more often. Is all I'm thinking. It's like, wow, okay, because I'm learning as much as the audience is. It's been great. It's like you guys are on point, no question about it. So
I think we stunned everybody because there's 32 people in the room and there's only 20 likes on the clicker.
Oh,
But
really? So we got some some
Yeah, what?
hesitations, huh? What's that, Diane?
Come on, put the like. How do you like me now? Anyway.
Well, I hope you guys like us now. Hope you guys like us every night. But it's great to see all you guys that are turned out in the chat room. That's really cool. And the YouTube chat, it's really pretty busy. Great deal. And thank you for Galactic Pixie and Lady Death for managing the chats tonight. You guys are doing phenomenal. Appreciate your eyes on the action. So before we go too much farther, I did want to touch on this point because I think this is a great opportunity. Oftentimes on the portal, I one of the most common discussions that I have and that I talk about on the show is about ghosts. And, I think what I would like to know and hear from each of you, if we can, let me check and make sure nobody else is going to call. Okay, yeah, there's no other call-ins right now. So I would just like your feedback on how can people identify if there is indeed a spirit around? What are some of the indicators? Is there physical indicators, emotional indicators that most people would recognize in the case of a paranormal entity being near? And why don't we start with Deb on this?
A change in the temperature close to you. Things will get colder, usually if they're around. I've heard a lot of people talk about the hair standing up on their arms whenever there's a ghost or a spirit around. Sometimes you'll get that feeling that maybe you're being watched, and a lot of times it's because you are, because they're there. You may not always be able to see them or talk to them, but they're around. Those are just like the basics that I can think of.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Sure. Why don't we go to Diane? What do you think for indicators of a paranormal presence?
I would agree with Debra, and I would also say that many times, like for instance, certain people come by, you will be thinking of them. And I wrote a song to that in that regard too. Is that every time you find yourself thinking of them, if it is one of your deceased loved ones or somebody you knew, you can probably be pretty sure that they are nearby, and you could actually start thinking at them and see if they answer. And another thing you will notice is if for instance, like when David shows up, I hear one of his songs. I noticed that sometimes when certain beings show up, the wind will pick up. I know when, I hate to make this a blanket statement, negative beings will turn a place cold, and you will get chills. Loving spirits you will get a sudden feeling of being loved. It just depends on what the phenomena actually is that's happening at the time as to how to tell that it's going on. But just pay attention to how you feel normally. And then when you feel something out of the normal, well, that might actually be an attempted communication. Because we're really not all, and not everybody is clairvoyant, not everybody's seer. There's actually many of there's clear seeing, clear feeling, clairaudient, even smells. I mean, some people get smells, some people get touch, some people just know things. That's clairsentient. So there are more than one just ability to sense spiritual matters. And what you have may be one or all of them even. So that's what I could put on the table there about that.
Excellent. Thank you. And those are some great insights. I appreciate that. Joel, what do you got to say?
Sometimes I get an impression that somebody's there. I'll hear things in my mind's ear. I see things with my mind's eye. But a lot of time I'll feel a presence, and then I can usually just kind of focus in on it, or ask what it is that they need or want. But it's I get a lot of times I get a lot of things that just kind of just peer at me. Maybe it's just because of how I try to draw in my aura at times, but I get a lot of like inquisitive looks, like, what exactly is that over there? And before I walk up or look at it, it's like, well, how are you? If I figure it's okay and safe. Yeah, I'll have to agree with both of them. Signs in nature, sense, emotional impressions. Yeah. I get a lot of emotional impressions at times. And I have to just follow through with that.
Excellent. And Sean, we got about 2 minutes left. What do you have to add? It's going fast.
All of those are 100% accurate. I have the unfortunate benefit of when they come in, I can actually see them like a person walked in the door. But the worst ways, the ones that I usually get called to deal with, the ones that are the danger factors for me when I'm present around them, it's a feeling of disquiet, heat sometimes, especially with the 2 demons we had to deal with. It was like being near a roaring fire, and you just start to cook. You feel like there's just no way to get cool again, and at the same time you're icy cold. You can put a hand to your flesh and you're just clammy cold. And then come the negative emotions, the things that they can also, just as they can influence you beneficially and make you nostalgic, the good ones. The horrible ones can make you feel things like you're worthless, you're useless, you're not worth living. Why don't you kill yourself? And I'm telling you this one because I normally am the guy who talks about the rainbow and cheers because they're more common. But when I was a kid, that was the ones that chased me because the thing couldn't get close enough, but it could send its energy and its information to me. Right. And so that was a constant thing.
Wow.
It can send you into a depression. It can just like things can elevate you, these things can push you down.
Okay.
And you don't even know that it's exogenous. It's coming from outside of you. It starts to feel like it's just you until you realize that the words are not in your own inner voice.
Very cool. And I want to thank all 4 of you for being here. This is a momentous occasion. The first panel we've ever had on the Paranormal Portal. And while I still have a lot to learn about hosting a panel, you guys were amazing, and thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Brent, for having me.
Thank you.
It was an honor.
Oh, well.
It is an honor to serve wonderful people.
Well, you guys,
really.
And thank you all so much for being here. You guys out there, you guys make the portal amazing. I appreciate it. And make sure you stick around, ladies and gentlemen, because Nikki Colombo is coming up next, and she has Holly Kennedy House is on She's a contactee as well. So I think that's what that says. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. But if you haven't heard Nikki's show, it's amazing. She does a great job. She's just got this amazing energy, and she's from down under, so it's a lot of fun to listen to her talk. So I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Everybody take care. And those of you that are connected via Skype with me, make sure to hang up as soon as we're done here, because we got to clear the path for Nikki because she's coming up. And then stick around for Jimmy Jean into the Microcosm coming up after that. You guys take care, and check the show notes on YouTube to see where you can keep in touch with all of our guests tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night. I have no idea what just happened there. But love y'all. Be good. Take care, YouTubes.